All right.
So the next one is, hi doc, I have a nutrition question. A lot of people as of late are on this carnivore diet with hardly any carbs or sugar in their diet. What's your take on it? Do you think it's possible to bodybuild and put on muscle without carbs? I would love to know what you think. Thank you, James R. Great question, James. Not that all of them aren't great, but this one, needs some sorting out because,
Mm.
as I've said many a time, and I'm not alone. There's plenty of people who are on the same page. There is not just one way. And despite what some of these influencers are out there saying, and I'm not going to name names, but it does matter. It's not just calories in, calories out. It matters your what they were referring to as your body type, which I take as ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, because clearly endomorphs tend to put on weight more easily than ectomorphs. That's kind of the definition of the body types. Endomorphs tend to be more heavy set, as we put it, whereas ectomorphs tend to be the opposite, very thin. And some of those ectomorphs can appear to eat like they have a wooden leg and not put on any weight. And an endomorph can complain about, all I have is one, cookie once a week and I explode, or making up. But with a carnivore diet, obviously you're getting a very poor source of energy. Protein takes some work for the body to turn into energy, whereas carbohydrate is just very little effort, and bingo, you've got glucose, which helps with everything, the brain, any energy. And of course, yeah, ketones can be used for the brain, but I'm just saying it's a quick and easy source that the body can use for energy. Can you use a carnivore diet? I would argue that it's not a pure carnivore diet, but what I call the bodybuilder diet, right, is the small but frequent meals and heavily laced with protein. One, because we need protein to build muscle, we know that, but also because it's such a poor source of energy, you've got what people are trying to do by dividing the meals into smaller, more frequent doses. You're doing that internally in the sense that, remember, mouth to anus is a tube that runs within the body. It's not, that food doesn't become part of the body until it goes through the small intestine into the bloodstream, right? So because it takes a while for it to turn into energy, you're effectuating that same trick you're trying to, which is just have a nice steady flow of energy. So there's always something there to repair the muscle, as it were, to not dig into the sugar and then glycogen stores of the muscle unless it's time to intensely in the gym. For those that are, I shouldn't just tailor this to bodybuilders, but, exercise, let's just say in general, that's when you're digging in on purpose. But the flip side of that too, the small but frequent meals and this slow drip, as it were, of energy, is that you're never taking in too much at one time, so the body can put it where you want it to go, preferentially into muscle, where you've created a deficit, hopefully from working out, and not be in excess so that, okay, can't handle this right now, let's deposit it as fat. A bodybuilder's, not singular ambition, but main, right? It's all about body composition. So, can you survive on a carnivore diet? Of course you can. And that wasn't the question, but can you become a bodybuilder? Absolutely. Is it harder for some than others? Absolutely. Not to talk about me, but I can raise my hand. And there's no way I could, and I'm Basque, okay, mainly in my genetics, but there's no way, well, so I should explain. Basques eat a lot of animal products, a lot of fats, a lot of meats, but there's no way. Got to have my carbs or I'm going to have a flat workout no matter how you slice it, okay? I'm naturally an ectomorph. There are guys, however, and in my opinion, my observation, they tend to be guys and gals. I'm from the South, so guys means both. That endomorphs tend to do better with the proteins and fats, and can get through a workout without feeling flat, without the carbs. God bless them, man. And the grass is always greener on the other side. But again, the answer to the question, yeah, it's possible. You say, well, yeah, but don't you need to replace the energy you spent, doing the heavy squats that day with muscle glycogen at the end of the day? Yeah, but because these endomorphs, by their very nature, tend to process it such that they can pack on the weight easier. Again, that's part of the definition of being an endomorph, is they look and are, more they're more well muscled typically. Again, I'm generalizing about all this stuff. That's why I always start with individualized. But and it's harder for them to get diced, right, to get rid of the fat. So this fits perfectly into someone like that, I would argue. Now, can an ectomorph still get away with it? Yeah, probably, but maybe not as well for these little relatively minor things I'm pointing out. So I guess that was the end of the question.
Yeah.
Can you do it without? Yeah.
Okay.
Probably easier for some than others to throw some carbs in there where appropriate. It doesn't have to be every meal, even if you're an endomorph or ectomorph, if you're going to have carbs, and you do this. We've had lunches where, okay, this isn't carb day because I didn't have an appropriate workout for it, right? Or it's my off day. You don't have to have carbs every time, but some of us, I would say typically the ectomorphs, need little carbs before and during. Most, if not all of us, do best when after you work out, you have your biggest dose of carbs of the day, which makes sense. Hey, that's when it's time to replenish the muscle. When it's clamoring for it, give it to it. More likely to go as muscle than later on where it's found a way and now you're overeating.
That's right. Right. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is part 2 from James R.
Yeah.
He says, another one, Doc, sorry. What about intermittent fasting? I hear there's a lot of health benefit from that. Is it possible to still put on muscle if you eat only a few hours per day, say noon to 3? Thanks again, James R. So this is, it's actually a great segue, tangent as it were. Intermittent fasting, I would argue, is not the best thing for bodybuilders in general, for what I just said about earlier. You want what I call the bodybuilder diet, and you see it all the time, right, is small but frequent meals. You see the guy and gal who's really serious, right, carrying their food with them and their water for proper hydration, for the muscle. So intermittent fasting is not going to be the best diet, and doesn't mean it can't be done, because as I also explained, there's a lot of endomorphs that can get away with it. It's a really healthy choice we have found through really solid studies and anecdotes from physicians in this field, for someone with type 2 diabetes. Okay, it's a very effective tool for lowering sugars and losing weight, muscle or fat. Of course, you want it to be more fat than muscle, but it's a great tool for general health for someone who's got high blood sugar. So there's no doubt about that. But in terms of, so that addresses the health benefit.
Yeah.
But in terms of putting on muscle, that's not ideal. I don't care what body type you are, what exercises you're using, if you're an endurance athlete, a sprinter, if you're trying to put on muscle, again, I don't know, you don't want me to repeat what I said in the prior question about...
Well, you got to eat, right?
You got to eat. I mean, that's Anabolics 101, right?
Yeah.
You got to eat, otherwise you're not going to put on muscle.
Yeah.
And again, just quick summary, you don't want to ever overeat at one time or undereat at one time, so the small but frequent meal works. If you're just eating between noon to 3,
you're going to stuff yourself.
And the way I try and drive this home is kind of a ridiculous example. If that worked like some suggest it would, or as well as it might in certain, I would say, unusual circumstances, if you're a busy guy, we're busy here, right? Hey, you know what? I got an idea. Why don't I just skip my meals? I've got some time set aside on Sundays from 12 to 3. I'm just going to eat all my food for the week.
How do you feel about
Sunday,
that? How do you feel about that, Jenny?
It's not
I have these questions from my clients all the time, and I'm just like,
it's not going to work. And I know there'll be some out there that say, "Oh, we've got studies showing that as long as it falls within a 32-hour time frame, your body will still have what it needs because you had protein the day before. It's only been 12 hours, all that kind of stuff." Given some of these examples of what we believe, the way the physiology works, still in real life, okay, obviously that's nuts. And yeah, there's probably some times where you could get away with it. It doesn't mean it's the optimal way to do it, though.
Right.
For the reasons we talked about. So just to hopefully put that one to bed.
Yeah.
And maybe for your clients too. So that was James' second question.
All right.